James Lanning, and I'm on the security team here at ITS Partners.
My name is Matthew Sjoerdsma, and I'm also on the security team here at ITS Partners.
ITS is an engineer-centric organization. We're partners with Symantec, and we specialize in Symantec's endpoint management and security solutions. What we're talking about today is the virtualization features in Symantec Endpoint Protection 12.1. We've been getting a lot of questions these days about what SEP 12.1 can do for virtual environments, and these days it's hard to find an enterprise that's not leveraging virtual environments to a large extent. So we're going to talk about what SEP 12.1 does really well for virtual environments.
Today we'll be talking about 5 features in SEP 12.1. There's the shared insight cache server, the virtual image exception, the offline image scanner, scan randomization, and download randomization. Now, about the offline image scanner. It's a pretty simple idea. You have plenty of virtual images that you distribute for servers, a starting point for each of your servers. And if you're ever worried about those images becoming corrupt, or maybe something at the beginning was infected and you're just discovering that now, or you're worried about maybe an infection that happened recently, either which way, a great way to solve the issue and put your mind at rest is to use the offline image scanner. And pretty much all that does is just scans all of your images all at once and says, hey, is there any viruses inside those images that might be making it to the machines? And once they're on there, we're not catching them. So was there a problem pretty much before we even started with this environment?
So the second thing we're going to talk about today is the shared insight cache server. Shared insight cache sits within a virtual machine cluster. You put in about 1 shared insight cache server per ESX in your organization, and what happens is the shared insight cache saves information from clients about files that are good. As a client scans, it pings back to the shared insight cache server saying these files are all good and we don't have to worry about them anymore. Those are stored on the cache server, and the next time the client scans, it looks to see if these files have changed. And if they have not, they are skipped completely. If they have changed, they're scanned again, and the file is updated on the cache server. So essentially, you're skipping files that we know are good and we don't have to worry about at all. This way, you can reduce your scan times as much as 80%. So the virtual image exception tool is something that scans a base image of a VM, virtual machine, sometimes called a gold image. You take your gold image, you run it through the virtual image exception tool, it stores those files locally, and then when the scan kicks off, it checks back to the image that's been saved and says, okay, have these files been changed? If they've not been changed, then we're just going to skip them completely and not worry about scanning them at all. Using the virtual image exception tool is another way to reduce scan times by removing stuff that we know is not bad because it was good last time and it hasn't been changed. Combine that with the shared insight cache and you're reducing scan times on your virtual machines by 80 to 90%. That way we're using less resources, we're getting scans done more quickly, and the virtual environment can continue to operate with a minimum of system resource usage from our scans.
The last 2 features of SEP 12.1 we want to talk about today are download randomization and scan randomization. Now, if you're not familiar with randomization, it's a pretty simple concept, is you don't want a lot of one resource or one type of resource doing the same thing at the same time. In the case of scan randomization, let's say you have 100 VMs on just one server, and they all decide to start scanning at the same time. Now that can create a huge problem because they're all going to start using the hardware resources on that particular physical machine. And that is a huge problem because it's going to cause all those machines, those virtual machines, to crash. So that's why we introduced the idea of scan randomization, is instead of all scanning at once, you create a window of opportunity for each of those machines to scan. Now you can have several scanning at once, that's not a big problem. It's having them all scan at the same time, or a majority of them scanning at the same time. So in lieu of saying, hey, everybody scan at 10 o'clock, you say between the windows of 8 o'clock today and 8 o'clock tomorrow, you do 1 scan. And what that really does is it just pretty much lets you run as the status quo. Instead of each of your servers using up all the resources, which you don't want, The current status quo of your network should be that you're using each machine's resources. They'll take turns using the hardware resources of the server that they're on. Finally, we want to discuss download randomization. Now, much like scan randomization, we're focusing on reducing resources. Only this time we're talking about bandwidth, specifically internal and external bandwidth within the company. So you can configure each SEP client within your network to either pull updates from your SEPM, your SEP manager, or from Symantec Live Update. Either which way, if all those clients start pulling at once from either one of those resources, you're going to cause a massive problem. This is why we recommend using download randomization. Is now the same idea as scan randomization, is you're saying somewhere within this window, you, the client, start pulling separate updates. Just start pulling randomly, somewhere within, field of a few hours, start pulling those updates. And what that does is it frees up your bandwidth, and it allows all your clients to still get their updates. I mean, they won't be all at the same time. However, they'll all be getting their updates, by the end of the day, if that's what your window is. So again, download randomization, great idea. Really helps you reduce your bandwidth within your company for updates.
So, once again, my name is James Lanning, and we hope that we have helped you to understand how Symantec Endpoint Protection 12.1 operates in virtual environments and can really help to reduce system resource usage and bandwidth usage in a large VM environment.
Once again, I'm Matthew Sjoerdsma. Thank you for watching today. If you have any questions, feel free to email James or I. Our emails are on the board. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks.